I'm Propane Salesman. I like Evil Dead, and I like Fallout New Vegas. One night, I had the most magnificent idea. What if you had Evil Dead and Fallout New Vegas? So here we are. Can you beat Fallout New Vegas as Ash Williams? Well, of course you can, but what are we defining as beating Fallout New Vegas as Ash? I'm going to play New Vegas while trying to embody the character of Ash the best I can. Make the decisions he would make, use the weapons he typically uses. I won't be necessarily restricting myself to only certain weapons, but I will try to use stuff like shotguns and chainsaws 99% of the time. And then of course beat the game. Not so much of a challenge run as it is just a character run, but it'll hopefully still be entertaining. And this is of course inspired by channels like Nurbit, as well as Mitten Squad, who is very missed. We'll headcanon that this is an Ash who's native to the Fallout universe. In 1982, he endures the events of his movie trilogy, starting in the wilderness of Tennessee, then getting retconned to the wilderness of Michigan, and finally to medieval England. At the end of his medieval adventures, to return to his own time, he drinks one too many drops of a potion intended to induce a centuries-long slumber. So instead of waking up in 1982, he wakes up in the ruined world of 2287. He adjusts to his new life, eventually taking up work as a courier. Unfortunately for Ash, the roads he walked eventually coincided with a man in a checkered suit, who robbed him before executing him in cold blood in a cemetery outside a town called Goodsprings. However, the hero from the sky hasn't met his end yet. He wakes up, having been nursed back to health by the kindly old Doc Mitchell. I name myself and create the closest approximation of Ash that I can within the New Vegas character creator. For special stats, I take 6 strength, because while he's not as shredded as some of his demon-destroying peers, it still takes some muscle to sling a chainsaw around. 4 perception, 9 endurance because he can take a beating, and possibly controversially, I take 1 charisma. You might not agree with this since you think Ash is incredibly charming, but I'm gonna say that it's actually Bruce Campbell with the charisma and not the character of Ash. In the movies and the TV show, Ash is shown to be very bad at convincing most people with his words alone, and usually has to prove himself with his actions. Besides, charisma is a pretty useless stat in New Vegas. Moving on, I take 4 intelligence because I think that fits Ash, 6 agility, and 10 luck, so he could score a lot of critical hits, and because Ash is pretty lucky to survive everything he survived. For my tag skills, I pick guns, melee, and repair. The first 2 speak for themselves, and repair since Ash has proven himself to be pretty handy. For my traits, I pick skilled and wild wasteland. Once Doc Mitchell turns me loose, I immediately use a console command to permanently cripple my right arm. Not quite as dramatic as lopping it off at the wrist, but without directly modding the game, this is the best I can do. And the small penalty I take to damage and weapon accuracy does add a little bit of challenge to this run. Speaking of weapon accuracy, I do the tutorial with Sunny Smiles for some easy XP, and then do Ghost Town Gunfight for mostly the same reason. I also sell most of the DLC items you start with. On my first level up, I took Lady Killer to make up for my single point of charisma, cause while Ash does suck at convincing people, he's still a hit with the ladies. Once Goodsprings is safe from the powder gangers, I follow the intended route and head south, equipped with some leather armor, a single-barreled shotgun, and a shovel, channeling my Evil Dead 1 energy. I arrive at Prim and fight some convicts, picking up a cleaver from one of them. I'm pretty sure Ash himself has never used a meat cleaver as a weapon, but his hand almost certainly did. I clear out the convicts inside the hotel by the skin of my teeth. Fortunately for me, their leader decided to just use some shitty pistol he picked up from his dead buddy instead of his flamethrower. I rescued Deputy Beagle and promised to find a new sheriff to guard the town of Prim. A promise that I did not keep. I start moving south again, following the yellow brick road. Some convicts try to hold me up and do as good of a job at that as I did at finding Prim a new sheriff. Around the corner are some jackals waiting to do the same, and I manage to get one of them before I suffer my first death of this run. I reload and try and take the quiet approach. I reverse pickpocket some dynamite onto the guy who killed me, which takes both of the jackals out. I admit not too in character for Ash, but I like reverse pickpocketing. It's one of the funniest ways to kill people in the Fallout games. Further up the road, I get ambushed by some vipers.
You're fucking with the vipers here, asshole.
Ooh, really?
What's that, your Girl Scout troop?
They're much more dangerous than the jackals, so I die. I reload and try and sneak around them, but I dummy thick and they are alerted to my presence by the clap of my ass cheeks. This attempt goes slightly better, meaning I actually kill a couple of them before they kill me. Third attempt, and this time I'm ready. I take some psycho and I go to blast these vipers to their final judgment. And I still die. I reload again, and this time is going to be different. I had a plan, my secret final technique, one that never fails. I sneak around to the right and kill one lone viper. His friends hear the commotion and spot me, taking pot shots at me, but this was all according to plan. Now I could finally execute my ultimate technique.
Run for your life!
Works every time. But then I realized that most of the gunshots I hear were just Tomas and Jacqueline duking it out. I let nature take its course, and for the first time ever in my playthroughs, Jacqueline wins. I first played New Vegas many years ago on PS3, once again on my brother's Xbox Game Pass a few years ago, and finally my first full playthrough on PC last year, and every single time Tomas won. Works for me because I could take his leather armor. I arrive at Nipton and give Oliver Swanwick probably the least violent death anyone has ever granted him. I have a chat with Volpeace. Normally I would try to fight him and his legionaries, but A, my weapons and armor are shitty even for the early game, and B, Ash probably wouldn't go out of his way to fight a losing battle if it's not necessary. But don't worry, the Legion will get what's coming to them eventually. I arrive at Novac and meet Boone, and do his quest for some more XP. I leave him at Novac because I don't plan to depend on companions much for this run. I'm a lone wolf after all. I talk to Manny Vargas and agree to clear out Repcon for him. When Ash arrives at Repcon, I'm going to headcanon that this is his first time ever seeing ghouls, so his instincts for fighting the undead kick in, including Jason Bright and his followers. After shooting first and asking questions never, Ash realizes that maybe those undeads wouldn't have attacked him if he hadn't attacked first. Oops. Anyway, the important part is that we can go back to Manny Vargas, who points us in the direction our checkered suit attacker went. Along the road, some more vipers attack me, volleying some grenades my direction. Unfortunately for them, grenades aren't strong enough to kill some idiot wearing a leather jacket and a metal shoulder pauldron, so I'm still standing once they run out of grenades. They have no options besides coming at me with their fists, in which case all I need to do is hold down the S key. I take their leader's reinforced leather armor for myself, and I carry on. I get to Boulder City, fight through the Great Khans, and beat Jessup to death with my shovel. I enthusiastically take his sawn-off shotgun. It doesn't have a stock, so it's not the proper boomstick, but I'll take what I can get. Just to be clear, I'm still going to use other shotguns besides this, including the hunting shotgun and stuff. If there was a proper full-length double-barrel shotgun closer to the one Ash uses, I might have stuck with that for a full playthrough. But I'm generally just going to be using the shotguns. Anyways, with the cons all dead, I decide to make my way to Vegas. On the way, I see a bighorner. I walk up to it, considering killing it for its meat, but decide against it, which turned out to be a mistake. The bighorner and its family repay my mercy by stampeding me. Any attempt I made at fleeing or fighting was futile, as I was ferociously flung through the air. There was literally nothing I could do, so log another death. I reload at Boulder City and begin my walk to Vegas again. During my walk back to where the bighorners were, I had ample time to think about how I would claim revenge. Kill the adults and leave the young to fend for themselves in the desert? Leave one bighorner alive with its limbs crippled? Alas, I decided the best form of revenge was forgiveness. These beasts were simply acting out of instinct to survive and know not of malice or hatred, so they are innocent of any perceived crime against me. I make it to Freeside and enter the Atomic Wrangler, where I put my 10 points of luck to good use and take everything I can at blackjack before getting kicked out. I also agree to secure some more workers for the Wrangler. I now have more than enough caps to be allowed into the strip, where I do as Ash would do and waltz straight into the Gomorrah. I once again win at blackjack until they ban me from the tables, and then go celebrate with one of the nice ladies in the courtyard. After my adventure in the Gomorrah, I take all my newly earned caps to the gunrunners and finally get myself a chainsaw. Then I go to talk to Mr. House and agree to work for him. I'll be starting with House for this playthrough since it seems like the most appropriate for Ash. The NCR is too lame and boring, the Legion is too evil, and running Vegas independently would be too much work. With Mr. House, Ash can let someone smarter do all the boring stuff, like thinking and decision making, and all Ash needs to do is listen to him and he gets to live comfortably in the Strip. Even better than a trip to Jacksonville. After agreeing to work for Mr. House, I make my way to the Tops. You want to guess what I did? Did I forgive Benny the same way I forgave the Bighorners? Nah. Did I take my chainsaw and turn Benny and his goons into confetti? Yes. But not before clearing out the chairman's coffers playing blackjack. Then I convinced Swank to let me bring my chainsaw into the Tops so I can repay Benny's kindness to me without turning the whole casino hostile. Then I killed Benny. I exit the Tops and Vulpes invites me to the Legion. I actually didn't know that he would be the one to give you the Mark of Kaiser if you didn't kill him, since like I mentioned before, I usually don't let him or his goons leave Nipton alive. I bring Big Bob the Platinum Chip and then get sent off to Cottonwood Cove. I level up and take Bloody Mess, and I cannot think of a more appropriate perk for this run. Back on the road, I get jumped by some more Vipers, but now I have much better armor and weapons and make very short work of them. Granted, their Grenadier did most of the work for me. She runs out of grenades and decides the most tactically advantaged decision is to run directly into my chainsaw. I try and make my way back to the road, but then I get my first crash of the whole run. God bless New Vegas. I reload and I take out the Vipers even more easily than I did the first time, without even needing them to blow themselves up for me. Having a chainsaw this early makes the game fairly easy. I manage to avoid crashing. I make it to Cottonwood Cove, and instead of going straight to the fort, I backtracked and went to Mojave Outpost. While I was there, I got my stuff repaired, bought some alcohol, and failed to woo Cass, who I think Ash would be infatuated with. She likes shotguns and booze, and Ash likes shotguns and booze. After that, I go back to Cottonwood Cove and let Caesar flap his lips to me before I install House's override chip. I go back to him, and he tells me to kill Mr. House. I ask him why he wants House dead, and all he has to say is this.
As the sun rises, we raise the flag, a symbol of all that we hold most dear as Americans. Courage, opportunity, democracy, freedom. They're the values and beliefs that built this country and still beat in our hearts. But they're under attack by an extreme movement that seeks to overturn elections, ban books, and eliminate a woman's right to choose. Joe Biden has made
Anyway, I go back to the Strip, where House tells me to go talk to the Boomers. I install the Followers of the Apocalypse's bug into House's network for the XP, and I level up to level 10. I took the perk Stonewall, which prevents you from getting knocked down in combat, but I actually didn't intend to take it, as I'm pretty sure I wanted to take and stay back, which gives shotguns a chance to knock enemies down. And I thought that getting violently flung around was something that happens to Ash pretty frequently. But my subconscious was probably still just mentally scarred from my Bighorner encounter. I leave Vegas and begin my trip to Nellis to meet the boogers. I leave Vegas and begin my trip to Nellis to meet the Boomers. On the way, I encounter some hostile Brahmin. I'm not sure what made them have such a cow towards me. I get some steak and keep walking. I arrive at Nellis, surviving the volley of bombs, and get myself acquainted with the Boomers. If you see me failing speech checks, it's on purpose because I think they're funny. One of my tasks to get the Boomers on my side is to fix their solar arrays, which is pretty simple if you put a lot of points into repair. Only there was one problem. I was 5 skill points of being able to repair the solar panels. I really didn't feel like finding the parts to fix them from Helios 1, so I decided I just needed some quick and easy XP to level up and give myself enough repair skill to fix the solar panels. I kill some ants for Ranger Jackson, and I tell Miss Ghost to bet the lottery at Nipton. Then I try to talk to Cass again, and she sends me to the Crimson Caravan. I show up, deliver some mail, and then accept the Vault 22 quest. My repair skill is already high enough to repair the Vault's elevator, making the quest fairly simple. And I have to resist my undead chopping instincts when I meet Keeley. I didn't want to make Angela Williams upset. With that last name, she's probably like my 9th cousin, which means she's family. I still give the research data to Dr. Hildren, though. I finally level up and can double all my points into repair, putting me over the necessary amount to fix the solar panels. Turning that quest in also pushes me up to level 12, and I can finally take and stay back, like I meant to 2 levels ago. Now I just have to do the rest of the boomer stuff to get them to idolize me. I clear out the ants in the power station. Then I try and listen to Peep give me a history lesson on the boomers and somehow mess up one of the simplest tasks in the game. I thought I could cheat by just waiting, but the game counts that as interrupting the lesson, docking me some good boy points. So I listen to the full lesson and then get docked a few more good boy points by making a dumb joke. I'm gonna chalk this one up to me staying in character for the run. I set Jack up with his red-headed sweetheart, which is one of the few times where you can actually use a lady killer for speech checks, and I'm now out of options. So I just buy the boomers' affection by giving missiles to Raquel. Now that the boomers like me enough, I can retrieve their bomber and recruit them for the Battle of Hoover Dam. I report back to House, who is most pleased with Ash. He then has me see what's up with the Omertas, and after running around the Gomorrah like a headless chicken for an entire real-life hour, somehow having uncovered and foiled the Omertas' leadership's plot to gain favor with the Legion by laying siege to Vegas during the Battle of Hoover Dam. I do remember that at some point in that big red haze, I killed a guy who got his jollies by torturing and killing women, so that's a plus. It felt fitting to kill a guy who could be a horror movie villain when I'm playing as horror's greatest hero. I stopped by Mick and Ralph's for some supplies, and tell Ralph about my Omerta adventure. I had no idea he was even involved in that quest. I also had no idea that as a reward he gives you the Pimp Boy 8 billion reskin for your Pip-Boy. That was a pleasant surprise, and I'm very glad I took Wild Wasteland. Once again, I report back to Bobby Boy, who wants me to take out the Brotherhood of Steel. For this part, I'll admit I kind of forsook roleplay again by bringing my outside knowledge into the game. Instead of going to Hidden Valley and doing their quests to be allowed inside, I went straight to 188 Trading Post to fetch Veronica. She lets me in, I dismiss her, and I don't have enough sneak points to pickpocket any of the leadership's pass cards to blow up the bunker, so I fight a long, hard, and grueling battle against the Brotherhood. At one point, I even make a tactical retreat to go resupply, but in my infinite wisdom and cunning, I forget to buy more stim packs. So I go back to the bunker, start fighting more Brotherhood members, and at no point noticing how light I was on meds. I realized my mistake too late, and rather than leaving again, I just thugged it out and subsisted off of what I could. From the time I blew off McNamara's head, to me finally triggering the base's self-destruct, it took me 39 real-world minutes. It doesn't sound like long, but to me it felt like hours. I report my success back to Big Bob, and he tells me to go to Hoover Dam to prevent President Kimball from being assassinated. I accept my task, but not before celebrating a little bit by going on another tear at the Ultralux, making out with another big winning streak, and my pocket's 15,500 bottle caps heavier. Now that my fun has been had, it was time to get back to work, so I went to Hoover Dam to try and protect President Kimball. During my patrol, for some reason, this trooper aggroed against me, so I just reloaded my save. While I know how to keep Kimball alive, I still played it how I think it would have gone down with Ash. I killed the disguised Legion sniper and gave myself a pat on the back, only to watch Kimball's Redbird explode midair. I have Ash stand there with Ranger Grant in disbelief. I report back to Mr. House, who isn't happy with my results. Luckily, I don't get fired, and he sends me on a mission to install an override chip to an NCR power station to aid us during Hoover Dam. We're getting pretty close to the end of the main quest line with Mr. House, and I'm not ready to end my playthrough just yet, so I make the decision to run through all the DLCs, doubling the length of my playthrough and the footage I need to edit. I head towards the abandoned Brotherhood of Steel bunker to start Dead Money. On my way to the bunker, I get ambushed by a Legion assassin squad. I still had not restocked on stim packs, so they killed me. I grab some more stim packs and try again. I take some shots at them, and then circle the gas station for some cover. I try and use VATS on this one Legion guy, but Ash's shotgun starts whispering into his ear, probably speaking of the futility of war, and the toll it exacts on the land and on the people. The Legion does not respect this intimate moment between man and weapon, and continues to attack Ash. Once Ash convinces the boomstick that sometimes words alone are not enough to pacify a problem, and violence is sometimes the only answer to protect yourself or your loved ones, the boomstick relents, and lets itself go from Ash's ear, which shows me that I am a stern look away from death. I load up on stims and fight the Legion assassins with all my might. I still get John Marstoned. At least he looks like he died in a comfy position on that bedroll. I reload and I do much better in this fight. A caravan passes and gives me some assistance. But with only one Legion assassin left, I still fall. One last attempt. I remember I have a chainsaw. The caravan guards die fighting the assassins, but I'm able to blow the last guy's head clean off. I make it to the bunker and start Dead Money. I think this is a great DLC for Ash, since a large part of it is fighting basically undead enemies who can only be killed by dismemberment. But then I hit a snag. This happened to me the first time I played Dead Money 2. I had no idea how to end the dialogue with God and revert him to dog, so he can get out of this damn police station. Out of frustration, I ended my current play session, meaning no, you cannot beat Fallout New Vegas as Ash Williams. Just kidding. I load a save from inside the Brotherhood bunker before I started the DLC, and head back up towards Vegas, where I do some quests in Freeside. I help Julie Farkas help some junkies kick their addictions, and I do some odd work for the Kings, whom I feel a strong sense of kinship with. I resolve their conflict with the NCR, and for this, the King lets you ask for any favor. You're normally expected to do this quest much earlier in your playthrough, because the game doesn't expect you to have enough caps to enter the strip right away. So one of his options is just for caps, and another is for a falsified passport to enter the strip without passing the credit check. The only reward available to me, which is of any substance, is getting to join the Kings for myself, which I graciously accept. I then decide to finally acquire some talent for the Atomic Wrangler. I hire Beatrix, Santiago, and eventually locate Fisto. I forgot to buy the 6-bot personality disc from Mick, so I had to go do that, and on my way back to Fisto, I get jumped by the old ladies.
Punks.
So now, thanks to Ashley J. Williams, the Atomic Wrangler now has a new workforce. I'll add that this is my first time completing this quest, and I was rather horrified by Beatrix's new uniform. After gallivanting around Freeside, as well as mopping up the Nightkin in Ripcon's basement, I decide to give Dead Money another shot. And once I get back to Dog God, I find the right sequence of dialogue options to progress the story. From there, if you've played Dead Money, you pretty much get the gist of it. This is a very linear DLC. Once I activate the Gala event and enter the Sierra Madre, I go a little bit insane trying to remember how to access the electrical maintenance closet in the casino. But once I do, I immediately go on one last gambling streak. Everyone talks about the gold bars at the end of the DLC, but if you cash out the maximum amount here, you can walk out of here with an absurd amount of pre-war money that has a good conversion rate to caps and is completely weightless. I used about half my chips on stim packs, and I still left the Sierra Madre a significantly richer S-Mart employee than I was when I entered. Anyway, I sadly have to kill Dog, somehow don't have to kill Dean, and save Christine. I make room for a couple of gold bars, turn Elijah into a red smear, and escape the Sierra Madre. Keeping the DLC streak going, I head north to meet up with the Happy Trails caravan to start Honest Hearts. I pass the medicine checks to kick Rat Trap out of the group and accompany Leah Everett and pals to Utah. We make it to Zion National Park and get ambushed by the Foot Clan, leaving me as the only survivor. I take a fire axe off of one of the dead white legs. I meet Follows Chalk, and he takes me to meet the big man himself, Joshua Graham. He quests me with delivering pizzas to Daniel and the Sorrows. I arrive at the Sorrows territory to deliver them their stuff. Our first conversation ends poorly, as I've been trying to take all the rude or immature speech options without being actively hostile. But the kind, faithful Daniel decides that somebody not wanting to risk their life against the White Legs to help a tribe they have nothing to do with is worthy of the death penalty. I'm kind of dumbfounded, so I don't even fight back and they just kill me. I'd also rather actually finish the DLC story instead of just killing everybody and dipping. So next go around, I'm a goody little two-shoes, and I agree to clear out the White Legs traps to help the Sorrows. Joshua approaches me and congratulates me for delivering the pizzas.
You did good, Parker. Everyone got their pizzas. Good job. Keep it up, and there will always be work for you.
He also wants me to wipe out all of the White Legs I can find, which I accept. I go off gallivanting around Zion, barely surviving against cazadors and turning many White Legs inside out. I sent this one guy to hell. I finished disarming all of the traps to clear the way for the Sorrows, fighting plenty of fauna and tribals throughout. The weather during this part was very gray and rainy, which I point out because the weather was exactly the same outside as I was recording this. Hurricane season, very immersive. Anyway, I forget to clear out all the white leg encampments, and I reach the ending decision for Honest Hearts. Side with Daniel and help the Sorrows flee Zion, or side with Joshua and exterminate the white legs. This is another time where I feel I may have broke character, since Ash would probably rather just take the path of least resistance and help the Sorrows leave Zion behind, rather than actively hunting and clearing the white legs. But I like Joshua's ending better, like everyone else does. We fight our way through the white legs, and eventually Joshua captures their leader, Salt Upon Wounds, who I allowed to die a warrior's death on the wrong end of my chainsaw. I bid my best bandaged buddy farewell and finish Honest Hearts. As I leave Zion back to the Mojave, I take everything from the chest of items, but the only thing I'll actually use is Joshua's outfit, which I make my main outfit for the rest of the playthrough. I kind of wish I stuck around in Zion a bit longer though. I totally forgot to do the vision quest with the Sorrows to defeat the ghost of She. I think Ash would have enjoyed getting to trip balls off the Datura and fight a giant flaming bear. I don't stay in the Mojave for too long. I go ahead and install the override chip in the NCR substation, which is the final quest you need to do with Mr. House before you can go to Hoover Dam with him. I never intended to finish the run here, of course, as I still have 2 whole DLCs to clear. I head south to the drive-in theater and start Old World Blues. I am highly disappointed with myself because I had an idea in mind for Old World Blues. I wanted to finally heal my right arm and say that the think tank just gave me a new artificial hand, but I totally forgot about that until I was already halfway through the DLC, at which point I thought it just wouldn't make sense anymore, so I kept my arm crippled for the rest of the run. I find all the personality discs for the sink's appliances, and I use the toaster to give myself the superheated Saturnite fist. I don't think anyone will contest Ash using a metal fist, right? Then I acquire all the technology I'll need to enter the Forbidden Zone. I speak to Dr. Mobius and decide that he's alright, so I side with him against the think tank. I speak to my brain and eventually convince it it'll be happier back inside my head. I return to the think tank, get my heart and my spine back, and scrap all of the scientists before returning to the Mojave. Back at the Mojave, I had just a couple of major objectives left before me. Lonesome Road and then Hoover Dam. Once again, not wanting to end the run just yet, I go off and see what else the Mojave has left for me. I reach Aerotech Office Park, a refugee camp for displaced NCR citizens. There, I take a quest called the Coyotes to investigate why refugees from the camp keep going missing, taking me to Vegas' west side, a place that makes Freeside look like the Strip. Most of the refugees who had gone missing were seen dealing with 2 prospectors, St. James and Dermot. I talk to them and they brush me off, with St. James acting particularly suspicious. I enter the hotel they live in and enter their rooms, and I find a ledger revealing that Dermot has been engaged in human trafficking, capturing and selling the refugees from Aerotech, many of them being children, to the local raider gang called the Fiends. Near the end of the document details just how cruel the Fiend leader Cook was to the people he'd bought, in one case forcing several women to watch him burn a teenage boy to death. St. James's room is locked, so I try to use a stealth boy and pickpocket him, but his key doesn't even show up in his inventory. I convince a prostitute who goes by Sweetie into giving me his room key, while she also details how St. James creepily involved a teddy bear in their last session together. She offers me her services, but I think even Ash wouldn't be in the mood while dealing with this kind of crime. I enter St. James's room and find the teddy bear he had taken from one of the children he sold to the Fiends. I go down to confront the 2 human traffickers. Suddenly my head starts flashing. Human trafficking, child abuse, sexual deviancy, St. James, little St. James. I don't know what came over me, but by the time I regained my senses, St. James and Dermot were nowhere to be found, with only a bunch of red chunks where they were standing a few seconds ago. My chainsaw was also covered in blood. Weird. I report to Captain Parker to let him know what happened, finishing the Coyotes quest. Seriously, a child trafficker named St. James. Was Obsidian trying to tell us something? After dealing with 2 of their business partners, I couldn't just ignore the Fiends. My righteous fury had not been quelled. I systematically hunt down the Fiends' leadership. First driver Nephi, then Cook, and finally Violetta. leaving only Motor Runner in Vault 3. I'm pretty sure you're intended to fight all of the Fiends much earlier in your playthrough, as they all die comedically fast.
You like the sight of your own blood? You like the sight of your own blood? You like the sight of your own blood?
You like the sight of your own blood? You like the sight of your own blood?
You like the sight of You like the sight of your own blood? You like the sight of your own blood? You thought you could hide from me? You like the sight of your own blood?
I enter Vault 3 and eliminate everything moving in the common area. My lockpick skill is too low to enter the maintenance wing where Motor Runner resides. I go to the living quarters and introduce all of the Fiends in there to my chainsaw, and free some of their captives before taking the maintenance key and making my way to Motor Runner. I'd hoped for a climactic chainsaw duel with him, but a well-placed boomstick shot knocks him on his ass and makes him drop his weapon. I disintegrate his goons as he picks himself up and picks up an SMG to try and defend himself. He lived as a cruel, sinful man, and he died cowering in a corner. I leave Vault 3 content with my accomplishments, but still feeling like I can do more. So I fast travel to the fort and deliver my righteous justice to the Legion at their heart. None of the regular legionaries stand a chance. I enter Caesar's tent and die once since I was stuck reloading and couldn't escape the tent. I try one more time, loading up on drugs and alcohol, and decide that melee would be the best option. I go in and start ripping and tearing. I get tired of my chainsaw getting parried, so I take some rushing water and switch to my Saturnite fist, which does the job. I go to look at Caesar's corpse, thinking his head looks like it's resting weirdly on his shoulders, only to realize that that was because it was no longer attached. That gave me a nice laugh. After such a vicious battle, I go and have a seat for a minute in what's now my chair.
Hail to the king, baby.
I finish clearing out the fort and then go to Camp Searchlight so I could get Knock Knock, a unique fire axe. Instead of doing this guy's quest to get the key from him, I just kill him and take it. I also go to the gun runners and buy the medicine stick, a lever action rifle and one of the best weapons in the game. No, it's not a shotgun, but Ash uses a lever action rifle in the theatrical ending Army of Darkness, so I'm allowing it. I get a haircut to look more like Evil Dead 2 Ash than Army of Darkness, and I'd wish I'd taken this haircut from the start, since it looks a lot better on him. Then I embark on my penultimate journey, the Lonesome Road. I meet Eddie, fight some robots, and buy a suit of riot gear from the commissary for some extra protection. And for the drip. It also sort of looks like Ash's clothes from the ending of Ash vs. Evil Dead, so that fits. For some reason, my conversations with Ulysses through Eddie act like I'm allying myself with the NCR, even though I'm finishing the game with Mr. House. With all of the flayed, mad, marauding marked men to fight on the Lonesome Road, Ash has never felt more at home. As strong and ferocious as they are, they all crumble before the boomstick much the same. The tunnelers give me very little trouble, but the Deathclaws prove to be a real challenge. My best tactic against them was to blast them a few times with the riot shotgun, in which the stay back perk would knock them down and leave them wide open for me to finish them off with the chainsaw. Simple enough for one Deathclaw, but trickier if they had a friend. After fighting the grumpy old trolls who lived under that bridge, I take a nap with the skeleton. I fight through some more marked men and eventually use a fucking ICBM to clear an obstacle on my path. Could I really not have just found a way around this missile silo? I enter the facility, take this elevator that's in every video game while fighting more tunnelers, and make my way through to the other side where I fight some more Mark Wahlbergs, step on landmines, fight even more tunnelers, and then have my robot taken from me. I faced 2 Deathclaws who gave me a ridiculous amount of trouble. First, I tried just filling my veins with whatever substances I have sitting in my inventory, and using my chainsaw to fight like I've done for everything else. It doesn't work. Then I try using the medicine stick. I kill one of the Deathclaws, but its buddy kills me. Next, I combine the previous tactics and pair Med-X and Psycho with the medicine stick, which results in a repeat of the previous attempt. Next, I try and use my old tactic of knocking them down with a shotgun and finishing them off with a chainsaw, and I still die. A couple of more deaths later, I take out the first Deathclaw with a medicine stick before they got too close, and fight his buddy with a chainsaw before I realize what I'm doing, so I pull out the riot shotgun and blast him way back before bringing the chainsaw back out to seal the deal. Victory, your name is Ashley J. Williams. Then, I fight through my last area of Mark Ruffalo's before finally facing Ulysses as he tries to launch a nuke towards the NCR. He flaps his lips behind that mask of his about the bear and the bull, and I decide I can no longer bear his bull, so I fight him. First attempt, he falls into a pit, and for some reason beyond human comprehension, I try to follow him down. Next attempt, Ulysses once again falls down into the pit, and I make the difficult choice of not accompanying him down to the abyss. I clear out the rest of the iBots and Mark Zuckerbergs infesting the launch facility, and Eddie sacrifices himself to abort the missile launch. The day is saved, and I exit the missile facility. I sit through the Lonesome Road ending slides and crash. So I get to fight Ulysses again. He must just have suicidal tendencies because the first 2 times, he just jumped into the death pits, and this time during the fight, he just stands there and doesn't try to fight back. Ash has fallen for this trick before and he won't fall for it again, so I finish Ulysses off once and for all. Bear, bull, I'm the guy with the gun. I once again kill all of the invading Markipliers, Eddie sacrifices himself again, and I get my amputee butt out of there. I sit through the ending slides again and manage to avoid crashing. I return to Mr. House to begin the battle for Hoover Dam. Here's a quick look at my stats and perks before I head out. You can pause if you want to see exactly what I've taken throughout the run. The day that decides the fate of the Mojave has finally come. I arrive at the final battleground. The Great Khan sent exactly 3 warriors to assist the Legion. Real sweet of them. I fight my way through the Legion's Centurions with relative ease. I get one final Wild Wasteland notification, and I have absolutely no idea why. My aim with the shotguns honestly kind of sucks, so it's a good thing that this is a single player game and I'm a walking bullet sponge. There's this one point where I'm convinced it's another wasted use of VATS, and I'm about to waste my bullets, but Ash actually lands a shot right between that guy's eyes. Very nice. I head inside the dam to install House's dam override chip. I don't feel like fighting these 2 armored NCR troopers, so I just use a stealth boy to sneak in. I install the chip, talk to House, and make my way out. I'm glad I didn't aggro the NCR getting in here, because I passed by this one trooper who seems to have taken out 3 legionaries by himself. I don't want to mess with that guy. Back outside, the Legion doesn't stand a chance against the guy who works at a supermarket. The only real challenge is killing them before the Securitrons steal them from me. I enter the Legion's camp, their final foothold in the Mojave. I hit this one guy with a 3-hit touch of death combo. I kill these 2 guys and get a really clean decapitation on this one guy. Now nobody stands between me and the final boss, Legate Linnaeus. I ask him if Caesar was giving orders from beyond the grave. The game intends for this to be a sarcastic dialogue option, but I like to think that Ash was asking that as an honest question. That would be the kind of thing Ash would have to worry about. I select the dialogue option to start the fight, and before attacking me, he hits me with one of the hardest lines in any video game.
We shall see how brave you are when nailed to the walls of Hoover Dam, your body facing west so you may watch your world die. Death to
Too bad I had the stay back perk. While Linnaeus does his best Joe Biden impression, I make all of his goons go boom. He gets up, and I put some serious damage on him. Enough to make him try and flee. Then, either the stay back perk activates again, or he slipped on a banana peel. Either way, he's on the ground, defenseless. Just to insult him, I shoot him one more time when the sun doesn't shine. But we all know there's only one way this is going to end. East, west, I'm the guy with the chainsaw. Even though their boss's armor is nothing more than a bowl of chili now, Linnaeus' boys still think they've got what it takes. One of them dares to try and use a chainsaw against me. Just like all of their Legion brothers, all they accomplish is staining the sand with their blood. General Oliver makes his entrance, and I present him with his terms of surrender for the NCR.
You know I won't surrender the dam, and certainly not to the ghost man of Vegas and his new right hand of the week.
Right hand? Did he really just call me that? Okay, he definitely did that on purpose. He dies. With the Legion's bodies lining the dam, and the NCR humiliated, Hoover Dam belongs to Vegas. And so I have finally beaten Fallout New Vegas as Ash Williams. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment on what you thought of the video, any suggestions you might have, or how you might have done this run differently. And thanks to my friend Classy Courier for the artwork she provided. I've had the idea to do this video for a while, but I've got other projects I wanted to finish first. However, I was without internet for about 2 weeks, and couldn't do any more work on my other stuff, so I decided to fire up New Vegas and finally give this run a try. I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I'll see you next time when I've hopefully finished my King of the Hill Season 2 video.
You like the sight of your own blood? You like the sight of your own blood?